Hey, what's up everyone? TJ here, and welcome to my review of the CAPiTA Navigator Snowboard. Let's get into it. All right guys, and real quick for your reference before I jump into the construction, I'm 5'10", I weigh around 155 pounds, and I tested this snowboard in size 158. Now this is an all-around resort and powder focused snowboard on the CAPiTA lineup, and it does have a directional design to it. So you're gonna find a longer nose up front outside the contact points, as well as a shorter tail outside the rear contact points. There's a little bit of a setback. You're gonna find a 20 millimeter setback on this snowboard, so the inserts are shifted a little bit closer to the tail, as well as around 12 millimeters of taper, narrowing the tail of the snowboard a little bit as well. All that is geared towards increasing the surface area up front and just making this board float really well and more maneuverable in softer snow conditions. One thing I do want to highlight here, talking about the directional features, is you'll notice the reference stance is actually shifted towards the front of the insert pack, which is kind of cool. So if it does get super deep, you're taking this board out on like a proper bottomless day, you can actually shift your stance back quite a bit further and increase that setback a lot to make the tail more maneuverable, but mainly just make this board float even better. You're gonna get CAPiTA's Resort V2 profile in this one. So that is a camber dominant profile. Although it's not an extreme camber, it's a pretty mellow bend, but still gonna give you a little bit more energy when you need it. And that's gonna lead into a reverse camber blend in the tips with a little bit more reverse camber in the nose of the snowboard. But that positive camber does run through the body out just a little bit past the insert packs here. You'll also find two Technora Flax boosters built into the layup of this snowboard. So that's an Aramid Flax hybrid compound. Aramid is a very resilient fiber that's gonna add durability and increase the overall energy just a bit. And flax is gonna help dampen things out and just smooth out the overall ride. So you're gonna get that out of this one as well, just help fine tune that performance and make it a little bit more enjoyable out there. Other than that, you're gonna get their skinless core ash wood grain top sheet, which is a real wood top sheet, has a beautiful look and finish to it. It's got a little bit of texture to it and is actually quite a bit lighter than their standard top sheet as well. You'll also find their hover core, which has a ton of Polonia built into the core of the snowboard to keep it nice and lightweight, as well as their hyperdrive base, which is a high molecular weight sintered base, very fast, very durable, but you do want to make sure to wax it regularly through the season to maintain that nice quick glide like you're going to find right out of the wrapper on this thing. And that's it for an overall tech and construction breakdown. Let's get into how this board actually feels out around the resort. Okay, let's jump into things talking about the overall flex and feel you're gonna find in the CAPiTA Navigator. So first off, I do wanna say this board is noticeably lightweight. It feels light in the hand, gives it a nice, slightly more maneuverable feel underfoot, which is always fun. And flex-wise, it's actually a pretty playful snowboard. If I had to place the flex, I'd say it's around a mid-flex, maybe just a little bit on the softer side of medium. You do get a lot of leverage with the reverse camber you find in the nose and tail of this snowboard. So if you are trying to get some flex out of it, it gives up a nice, good looking tail press and honestly makes this board a lot of fun for playing around with butters and ground tricks. I think the flex is great. You can get a good looking press with minimal effort, but it also gives it a little bit of a looser feel, which is a lot of fun to play around with. You know, I always take every board through a butter test, and the Navigator definitely stands out as being particularly fun for that kind of riding, especially considering that it does have this more free ride leaning kind of shape. I think that playful combo with this geometry design is unique and makes this board a lot of fun around the resort for more freestyle forward kind of riders like myself. It does still have some good energy as well. That camber is a little bit mellower, like I mentioned before, but it's not difficult to load it up and get this board to give you some snap when you need it. So overall, I'd say this board is nice and playful. It has a proper buttery feel to it. It's going to give you a healthy looking press, but still has a lot of great features in the design to hold it down around the entire resort in really any snow condition. Now you'll notice that there are a lot of clips of me riding in the park on this snowboard, and that's because I think The park is just a great place to really feel what a board can do. One of many great places, but a zone that I always gravitate towards on every snowboard, regardless of the shape. So let's talk about how this thing feels in the terrain park. Now, I would say, despite the directionality, which is going to make it a little bit more of a novelty to do proper park laps on this thing. So disclaimer with that, this board actually does have a pretty strong freestyle character to it. And I would say it hangs in the more like intermediate range performance wise. So what I mean by that is that it's very comfortable in like the small to medium size feature wise. If you're not getting too crazy with your trick selection and you can deal with the directional shape in this snowboard, I think you can still have a lot of fun getting freestyly. It's nice and maneuverable on the approach. I think it jibs pretty well. It's pressable. It doesn't feel too bad locking in sideways. And it gives a good platform to pop off jumps as well. Land switch very comfortably despite that taper and setback. But if you do really start to push it and start hitting those larger gaps, maybe not landing perfectly stomped on the bolts here, might feel a little washy, feel a little loopy with that reverse camber and the softer flex. But overall, a lot of fun. I do want to talk about the resort and carving experience you're going to find with this snowboard as well. Two specs I'm going to throw out for you guys are the waist width and side cut. So at size 158, you're going to find a 25.6 centimeter waist width, which is pretty average, not particularly wide, not particularly narrow. Going to be a good amount of surface area to work with the geometry to give the board float while still getting nice nimble edge to edge transitions. And it runs an 8.1 meter side cut, but it's a little bit tighter through the center of the side cut here. So when you're in the middle of your carve, really driving through the turn, you can actually get a little bit more aggressive with it, which is fun to play with. Not super noticeable in the overall feel. Generally, I would say this is just a smooth carving snowboard, super fun to get on edge, and does throw you in slightly longer turns. I think that's the vibe you're going to find just cruising around on groomers. Stability wise, like I've been saying, it is a more playful snowboard. I definitely wouldn't hesitate to get into those spicier, steeper, more technical zones. This is a board I'd happily bring along with me on a hike. And I definitely would lean towards taking it out on softer snow days, whether it's like a full-on powder day or not. And you know, when it does get kind of bumpy and chewed up towards the end of the day on those types of days, I think it holds up pretty well. This board holds a surprisingly good edge. Even in more firm conditions, I was really surprised at how well it held an edge. Even as I started to go a little bit faster and kind of dove into the carve, it held on really well. That camber works. You can have a lot of fun with this thing, although you can certainly overpower it if you really push it and high speed free ride with it. But it's very enjoyable on edge. And even though it is a little bit more playful, it's still capable out there. I think you're gonna have a good time. I do wanna talk about the powder experience you're gonna get with the Navigator as well. I was able to take this thing out on a pretty epic day in the Colorado backcountry to feel it out. And this is the kind of board that relies mainly on its geometry and bend for floating powder. Like I said before, it's not particularly wide, although quick side note here, if you do size up on this snowboard, it gets significantly wider as you step up in size. And with how playful this board is, I think if you're using it as just a true powder first board, you could easily size up, get more surface area out of it and get a little bit more float, while still being able to get a good hold of the board. I don't think it's gonna make it like too stiff or unmanageable if you size up. But anyways, I still had a great time on the 158. I felt like there was plenty of float. And what surprised me the most was how nimble it felt in deep snow conditions. I think that the reverse camber working with that taper and setback just made a huge difference when you're trying to maneuver the board through deeper snow. And a lot of times boards with a solid tail tend to feel a little bit sluggish in that type of condition. Whereas this snowboard, I felt like just glided through super easily. And that reverse camber almost just like helped spit the snow out the back. Making it a lot more similar feeling to something like a swallowtail. I think that tail just really wiggled through the snow super easily, and it had great float. I never had an issue keeping the nose up. The one thing I would say is that with the board being a little bit softer, if you are in a denser powder snow condition, might be able to push the board around a little bit, or if you like push into a big pile of pow and it's like has some moisture to it because it's been sitting for a while, like a hot POW scenario. You know, that nose is going to be bending. It's not a super powerful board, but I think for like a nice quality POW day, the Navigator just has an amazing feel to it. At the end of the day, I think the Navigator is going to be a solid choice as a resort board for those days where you just want to go exploring. It's got a uniquely playful, freestyle-friendly feel, but still rips turns, holds a solid edge, and is an absolute pleasure in powder conditions. So if you're looking for something like this that has a little bit of a more playful feel, definitely consider the CAPiTA Navigator. I think this one has a really unique combination of tech and personality to it. I'm gonna have it linked down below this video if you wanna read more about it for yourself. And let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate you guys. Let me know if I left anything out. Drop a like if you did get some value, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. Thank you guys again. See you in a new one next time.